Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again to Next Generation Transportation Focus on Future Leaders. Our panel discussion, we have a dynamic panel of leaders from across the transportation industry. Experience spans from early career leaders to experienced CEOs, and there is a conversation here for everyone. So if you are new to the industry, we have some leaders who are also early in their career who you can glean from. But if you are a seasoned transit professional, there's also a CEO on our panel who can also give you some good information as well. Our goal today is to have an authentic discussion about their personal career journeys and the challenges they've been able to navigate along the way. And like I said, we're going to glean from their real world leadership experiences and learn how they grew in their leadership capacity to advance and impact the transit industry. There will be time at the end of our conversation for Q&A. So if you have questions, make sure you get them ready because there'll be an opportunity for that as well. I'll start out with introductions, and I'll start out with myself. My name is Geisha Esther, and I serve as the Executive Director for the National Transit Institute. I have had a humbling and fulfilling career in transit for over 30 years. I'm starting out as a train operator. I operated a train to going on to be a supervisor, a rail supervisor, to being a training coordinator, to being the vice president of training at one of the largest agencies in the country, to now being the executive director for the National Transit Institute. So there is a conversation and a pathway that you want to hear today. I will start with Reginald, if you want to introduce yourself. And what I'll ask you to do is I have some specific questions for you. I will have you introduce yourself, your name, your title, your organization, and your transportation industry superpower. And that superpower is what helps make you be impactful as a leader in the industry.
My name is Reginald Mason. I'm the transit director for the Greensboro Transit Agency, Greensboro, North Carolina. And Geisha asked about my superpower. Well, Geisha failed to mention where she started off as a train operator. She started off as a train operator at the Chicago Transit Authority and worked her way up at the CTA. And I worked at the CTA twice. I worked there in the 90s, telling my age, and then most briefly back in the 2015, 2017 time range. But my transit superpower is actually the mission statement for the Chicago Transit Authority. In their mission statement, I learned that mission statement at an employee orientation. And that mission statement stated, we deliver quality, affordable transit services that connect people, jobs, and communities. And that's what transit's all about, connecting people, jobs, and communities. So that's my transit superpower.
We'll just share. Okay. Kim, you want to tell us about your?
Hi, I'm Kim Petty. I am the CEO at Onward, where we provide door-through-door FTA-compliant rideshare services for individuals with cognitive and mobility impairments, operating in paratransit services and otherwise. My career journey, I spent about 20 years in healthcare before getting into transit. And, one of my last startups, what we were doing was what we called research behind the human experience in healthcare. And through that, what we discovered was what was really driving healthcare workforce burnout and poor patient experiences with the health system were social drivers of health. Social drivers of health drive 80% of health outcomes. Transportation and financial insecurity are the top two social drivers of health. Transportation is also the number one caregiving responsibility in the United States. And so the next time I started a company, I knew I didn't want to spend any more time on sick care. I wanted to figure out how we get ahead of what is causing illness in this country to begin with. You could argue for transportation being one of the largest preventative outcomes measures, just as Reggie said, because by connecting people to community, connecting people to church, connecting people to food, you can get at the underlying causes of illness. So my transportation superpower is always thinking about the human experience at the core of our how, and how we implement everything by thinking about what matters to each of us as humans and how do we customize and individualize the experience for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Ben, you want to introduce yourself and tell us about your transportation superpower?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Ben Claus. I work with HDR. I'm the area transit market sector leader for Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Delaware. I deal with transit engineering, all facets. HDR is a full suite engineering company. My transit superpower, I am an effective listener. And what I mean by that is I listen to conversations, I listen to problems, and then I will pull from my experience on ways to coordinate and solve anybody's problem. So you can't do that if you're always talking. You miss a lot. So I'm always listening to what everybody's saying. And then when you present a problem, I can say, hey, you know what? I have this experience. I talked to this individual. Let me connect you. Let me try to, get you the help that you need. And in my current role with HDR, that's exactly what I do every day. So.
Good, very good. Thank you, Ben. Trish, you want to tell us about yourself, and we want to hear your superpower.
Sure. I'm Trish Shasley. I am a proud graduate of the Apter Emerging Leaders Program, class of 2024. I consider myself to be a visionary leader, and what that means to me is just simply finding the joy in making a vision a reality. I'm not just about the talk, the action, and for me, that's the strategic planning, goal setting. My background is in business with a master's in technology management and a specialization in supply chain management and logistics. I currently serve as a transportation supervisor and planner at Connecticut DOT. I think I'm the baby on the panel. As far as my superpower is connecting the right people to the table to successfully deliver on a project. And that ties into my personal life. So I enjoy competing in Spartan races. Any Spartans in the house? No? Okay. So Spartan races, think of it as Tough Mudder. So I enjoy obstacle racing. And while being on the Spartan field, it helps me in terms of teaching the self-awareness, like identifying my strengths, being vulnerable, asking for help while I'm trying to climb walls and crawling under barbed wires, and also connecting with complete strangers to get to the vision. And the vision is the finish line. So I believe the self-awareness and just the ability to work with different teams helps me to be an impactful leader.
Very good. Well, I have you.
Yep.
I'd like for you to talk a little bit about, did you feel prepared for your current role? Talk to us a little bit. We want to talk about preparedness because I know people in the audience are sometimes thinking about, am I prepared to take this next step? How do I get to this next phase? Did you feel prepared?
So I would say yes. So I'll just go back a little bit. So before coming into the public sector, I started most of my career has been on the private side. So I've served in various supply chain roles. So I've worked in different industries like the aerospace industry, United Technologies. I've worked aerospace systems. I've worked at Unilever. You guys probably know them for Ben & Jerry's and Dove. Imagine going into work every day and you can have as much Ben & Jerry's as you want. Like, it's free, right? So I was living the life in my 20s. And then in 2019, I received the opportunity at Connecticut DOT, and I was hired as a senior transportation planner. And my role was primarily focused on procurement, right? So supporting DOT with its battery electric bus initiatives, fare validation, all that great stuff. Then 3.5 years in, I was ready to pass the torch over to the next person, right? So prior to passing the torch over, what did I need to do to get myself ready for this transportation supervisor and planner role? And this is where the Apter Emerging Leaders Program came as a great opportunity to enhance my skill set. And also the second part is really advocating for Trish, right? So not just waiting for somebody to be like, hey, Trish, here's an opportunity, but, letting people know what it is that you desire and where you're trying to go so that you have that support. As far as feeling fully prepared, I would say you're never fully prepared in a sense, because even being in this supervise and planner role, I go into meetings and a lot of people have this confidence that she's a procurement person, she knows it all, but I will honestly say, like, I do not know the answers. And the way I build my credibility at CTDOT is what I call follow up and follow through. So if you don't know the answer, you go out, you do your research, you come back, and you share what you've learned with your team. So that has helped me in my role. And the second part of being prepared is just having that right mindset and having confidence within and just saying like I can do this, right? I can do hard things. So don't feel like you need to know it all. Just believe in your skills and what you bring to the table.
Very good, Trish. Thank you so much. She called herself the baby of the panel, but that answer was not the baby of the panel. Very mature, very experienced, right? And I think the thing that I took away from that was to follow up and follow through. That's amazing. Okay, Reginald, I'm not going to call you the oldest person on the panel. Or the most experienced person on the panel, but as the CEO, let's get to the other side of this. Someone who's been in the industry a long time. Tell us about, did you feel prepared for this current role you're in? And if so, how'd you get there?
Well, the current role that I'm in, did I feel prepared? Honestly, you're never really fully prepared. But in the role that I am in now, I mentioned connecting people to jobs and communities. You have to think about what do you really want to do stepping into a CEO position? What type of vision can you bring to not only the agency, but to the city? And that's very, very important. And you have to get the buy-in not only from the city councils, the board, but all stakeholders, selling your vision on public transportation. And how I did that and how I was able to sell my vision is APTA talks about economic development. For every $1 spent, it's a $5 return on investment. Well, I took that and kind of spin it a different way. I talk about economic mobility, how you can help those who don't have get to the next level by providing them public transportation. And when I go out and I speak, and I do this with staff and everybody else, I talk about economic mobility. We've changed some of our services, our bus routes in Greensboro, where it's allowed 55,000 residents on the east side of Greensboro to get to new job opportunities by creating more frequent service. So it's all about the community and what you can do with the community as a transit CEO or in mass transit, period. Because our job is essentially connecting communities.
So there you heard it. There you heard it from a CEO who has been in the industry a long time, who says like you're never really prepared, but there's stuff you can do to get there, right? So I want everyone here to feel comfort in like you don't have to have it all together. That it's okay to just have enough confidence, experience to step out there and do something. So Kim, I'm gonna go on to you talking about transformational experiences. We all have had that space in our careers where it's like this transformed me. This experience really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. Do you have one of those experiences in your career journey?
I'd like to say I have one every day. I've been an entrepreneur a handful of times and started companies, and you can't go in to starting a company without expecting to fail on a routine and regular basis. And it is how you react to those moments of failure that proves that you can get to the next level and move on. So, it's hey, oh, we learned this new thing every day, and how do we pivot? I'd say I was recalling earlier today, though, another sort of transformational moment for me and thinking about the importance of transportation specifically. And I was at the Cleveland Clinic as they were building the first office of patient experience in the United States. And one of the patients came to us. He had gone in for cardiovascular surgery at the Cleveland Clinic. And he said, the first thing you did to me was take away my driver's license. I'm a car dealer. You stripped away my identity the moment I walked in the door. And so how do we have these moments of realizing what the freedom of transportation creates? That man said, I didn't recover from heart surgery the same because I was depressed on what my future looked like going forward. And if we can figure out ways to restore people's independence and mobility, it is life-changing, the work that we're doing here. And transportation can sometimes feel unsexy, but when you remember what it is that you're enabling, it's really powerful and it's motivating, and it kind of keeps you going on those days when you're like, oh crap, I screwed up again, I gotta fix this. So.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for that. Ben, what transformational experience did you have that helped shape you as a leader?
So I go back to earlier on in my career, I worked with Pittsburgh Regional Transit. I started there as an assistant manager in their facility systems and just taking care of the day-to-day things. And one day the director came to me and said, I want you to run the substation department. The department was in shambles, things weren't running, state of disrepair. How do you take that? You know, so here's a pivotal moment in my career. I wanted to advance through the ranks, but here's a position that I don't know if I can succeed in. But I had the faith in my background, my knowledge, that I was going to be able to do it. So you come in, you know, and now you have to change the mindset and the culture of a union authority. How do you go about doing that? Well, it's just like anything else. You want to get to the heart of the problem. What's the problem? The union workers didn't feel like they were being heard. They didn't feel like they were being appreciated. Okay, let's start there. So just taking those the little lessons that I've learned, implementing them. I mean, it's hey, what's your biggest issue? I don't like our lunchroom. It's dirty, it's dark, nobody's changed the light bulbs in 2 years. Okay, well, I just came from the facilities department. I'm gonna call in a favor. Remodeled the lunchroom. You'd be shocked of what that means to the workers, you know, like that now they can go and have lunch in a clean, well-lit environment. So it's something very small, something that most people would overlook. But when you think about it, you wouldn't go into a restaurant if it was dimly lit and dirty. So it was just, you know, I listened, I figured it out, and I just started there. And then what's the next move? What's the next move? What's the next move? And from there, the culture changed. They knew that, you know, okay, now we have a leader who listens to us. Now we can work for him. And so it's not the big changes. You're never going to have like the grand slam home run in your first batter up. It's, hey, let me get to first base, then let me get to second, let me get to third. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna score a point. It's the same thing. It may not be as fun and as exciting as dramatic as that nice home run, but in the end you get there, and that's the important thing. That's the transformational point in my life, and a teaching moment is I don't always have to hit the home run. I just got to get to that first base and make a difference.
Very good. Ben, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit,
Okay.
right? So we talked about this in our practice, how something may spark. One of the things you said was you had faith in your background and knowledge. Sometimes as leaders, we second guess ourselves, right? And we may show up, and especially when we're new in our roles and new in our careers, we may not have that faith. How did you get there? How did you get to the point where you can stand in front of all these people and say, I have faith in my background and my knowledge? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, so the first thing that comes to mind is, you know, always fake it till you make it. So if you don't know, don't let anybody else know that you don't know. But what I would say is when you get into a role, rely on your background, but immediately find a good mentor. Find somebody that's going to care for you, that's going to grow you, and not be threatened if you exceed their expectations and you go above them. So that's an important takeaway. A lot of mentors will want to bring you up to their level in hopes that they advance themselves. That's not what you want. You want a mentor that wants to see you become the leader of their organization. Somebody that they could see your success, your power, your ability, and go like, I would work for this person. They are smart, they're engaging. That's who I want to work for, and that's what I'm going to help train. Because as we come in, you know, we have that knowledge. We just don't have the institutional experience yet. So you need to gain that. And a good mentor is the cheat button to that. That's going to help get you past that next level. You cannot do it on your own. I don't care how hard you work. You can work 15 hours a day in your office, but if the right people aren't seeing you and you're not making the right difference, then you're just spinning your wheels. So a mentor will help get you that traction that you need and help excel at. And also know where you are at now may not be where you end up. So I started my transit career, aspirations to be a transit CEO like everybody. And then I realized, Pittsburgh's great. They got me to this point. I love everybody here, their family. But maybe my journey is elsewhere. And private sector was not even on my radar. It came to me, and I was like, let's give this a shot, because now I'm not working with one agency. I'm working with multiple agencies. The fact that I can go to SEPTA, fifth largest transit organization in the country, and get to help them solve their problems, while still living in Pittsburgh, and then doing the same thing with Cleveland and doing the same thing with Cincinnati.
Very good.
I mean, it's just an amazing experience. So
All right. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. Trish, I'll ask you the question about your transformational experience. Talk to us a little bit about that experience that really pushed you out of your comfort zone on your career journey and really helped to shape you as a leader. You have one of those experiences?
I do. As I mentioned earlier, I started my career in the private sector and I've worked in different industries. And the transformational experience for me is being able to observe different workplace cultures and stepping outside of my comfort zone. So, my comfort zone is, setting goals, very fast paced. KPIs. Those are the things that let me know that Trish and her team that we're doing well, because I believe the numbers tell the story versus somebody saying, "Oh, this project it's great, it's moving right." No, I want to see the numbers to back it up. So, in certain industries, there have been times where I had to slow it down a bit, right? Because I'm so fast paced, driven by goals and have this growth mindset. But also too is that I've been in those workplace cultures where I've had to slow it down and just sit back and observe and ask the question, why are things done the way they are? So I'm sure you guys have probably worked at companies where they're like, we've been doing this for 10 years, or if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? But I have that mindset that even if something's working great, there's always opportunities to, continuous improvement. But I'm not the type of leader to just jump in and be like, oh, do this. I humble myself, observe, you read the room and ask those questions to better understand why are they doing things this way and why are they like, pushing back or not wanting to change. And then I believe in like the right timing to jump in, because you probably heard of the saying, be the change that you want to see. So whenever there's opportunities to make that change and wherever you work in, put yourself out there. You don't have to stay to the culture to be like, this is how they're doing it. And I realized that and based on my experiences in those different, workplace cultures, it has helped me to answer the question, well, where does Trish thrive the most, right? So I know for sure I thrive in a fast pace. Give me some KPIs. Let's measure this success. So that has been my transformational experience.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good, very good. So the big question that we all want to hear from everybody on the panel, and we'll start with you, Reggie, is what advice can you share with our future leaders? So, and again, our leaders are different in the room. We may have some entry level leaders that are just starting out in their career, but we also, or people who are not yet leaders, but also people who are in leadership roles that are looking to advance to be the CEO, that can be the business owner. So, what advice can you give to our audience today about leadership?
One thing I'll say is, it was been mentioned on the panel, find a good mentor. Get someone that's going to really mentor you. I look at Karita and I think about, Geisha mentioned transformational experience in your career. Earlier in my career, I was a chief safety officer at Houston Metro. And in 2005, my mentor, who was my CEO at the time, 2005, there was a natural disaster that affected New Orleans, Louisiana. And that was Hurricane Katrina. And we had to assist with evacuating folks from New Orleans to Houston, then out of Houston. My CEO at the time, who was my mentor, said to me, "You know Louisiana because you are from Louisiana. I am from Lafayette, Louisiana. I'm an old country boy from the South." He said, "Help me help people in Louisiana." And we had to figure out ways to get people from New Orleans to Lafayette to Houston on our buses. Our buses were diesel buses. They didn't have nozzles at gas stations to fill up those buses. So we had to rent tractor trailers. He said, "Think outside of the box." He said, "As the CEO, I'm not giving this to operations, I'm giving it to you. Think outside of the box. How can you help your people?" And for me, having a good mentor that's going to help you think outside of the box to put you in situations that you think you're going to fail in, but you actually succeed in. And that is what helped really prepare me to move into the position I am in today. And that happened 20 years ago. And my mentor is deceased now, but I think about him every single day, Mr. Frank Wilson. I'm looking at former coworker of mine. She knows Frank like I do. He gave me the opportunity to do something I never thought I'd be able to do. And that's what you need. Someone that's going to push you and push you to the extreme, so you can see that you're bringing out, she's bringing out the best in you. And that's what really helped me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Reg. Kim, same question. What advice can you share with leaders, people who want to become leaders, people who are already leaders, may want to be business owners? What advice do you have for us?
I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt process improvement person from my early career. And at some point in my career, somebody looked at me and said, I said, well, we'll fix this with process improvement. We're going to make the processes more efficient. We're going to look at the KPIs. We need to use data, all super important things. Somebody said, you can't get people in and out of this space fast enough to make up for being rude to them. And I think what we're hearing across the panel is that there is a need for not just efficiency, but empathy. And how do we keep empathy at the core of our how? Empathy for our people and our team and understanding where they're coming from, empathy for our customers, empathy for the operators and all of the different players. And that listen more that Ben brought up while looking at the data, it's tying the head and the heart together, right? It is look at the data, but understand the heart behind the data, or you're going to miss a big piece of the puzzle.
Very good. Ben, same question. What advice do you have?
Well, anybody that was here earlier and listened to Ray, he brought up one of the statements that I always say, and as a lot of my student members are here, never stop learning. Always be open to new advice. Always be open to new lessons. I'm not saying you got to enroll back into college, but just in your everyday life, never be closed off. Student members. So I'm the vice chair of the membership committee, and I oversee a lot of the student members coming in, and I just really have a heart for them because they are up on technology, and I am not. So. Whenever I have a problem with my phone, I'm going to go find a student member. But, I'm never going to say I'm done learning. I know it all. So don't do that, and never be afraid to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Always, try to make it a habit to put yourself in uncomfortable learning situations. Knowledge, trial by fire, as they say, that's the best learner. So, again, going back to my transformational experience, that was I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to try. I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone. And doing that today, it has made a difference in everything that I do.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Trish.
So my advice is two parts. The first one, trust your wings. And the second, do it scared. So trust in your wings. There's this analogy. So think of a bird sitting on a branch. The bird is not worried. It's not scared if the branch breaks, because guess what? It believes in its inner strength and its capabilities. So if that branch breaks, what are we going to do? We're going to still fly, right? And so that's that part. and then do it scared. To your point, Ben, you've all heard of get comfortable being uncomfortable. Can I tell you, I am so uncomfortable right now, but I have this confidence that, hey, Trish, you belong here too, right? And I love inspiring you. You all inspire me, right? Because we're growing together. And the second piece of this is always ask yourself these questions, like check in with yourself. You know, when they talk about the emotional intelligence and self awareness, ask yourself, what makes me happy? Just put your name. What makes Trish happy? What brings Trish peace? And you can start this on a daily basis. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what brought me peace today? Right? And for those who are similar to me, I have this growth mindset. Um, there are places in leadership, like I'm inspired by everybody on the panel, and I'm learning to put myself in those spaces to prepare myself, you know, enhance those leadership skills, my public speaking skills. But what I'm learning too is that I don't want to get there too fast. I want to get there healthy. So remember that. Don't try to get there fast, get there healthy.
All right. So we've heard some great nuggets today. So I'm going to repeat some of them because some of them are for me as well. Trust your wings, do it afraid, follow up and follow through, sell your vision. We talked about faith and background and knowledge. We've talked about look at the heart behind the metrics. We talked about keep everything at the core of the how. We heard think outside the box. Timing is important for change. We heard that as well. And then never be closed off to learning and always to keep learning. All of those were some great nuggets, right? Very good, very good. So now we have about 10 minutes. And what I like to do is turn it over to questions. So I'm going to turn it to Vanna White right now. So if you have questions, I will come find you and answer your questions. You can just raise your hand. You have one? You good? I'm going to sit. Okay. All right. Questions. I know you have questions. Sure. Trisha?
Um, Thank you for taking the time to talk about your expertise and experience in the transportation industry. This is a question for Trisha. I know you mentioned about like having faith in your own skills. To go into the transportation industry and the position you're in, is it better to diversify your skills or like kind of like focus on what's relative to your field?
I would say diversify your skills. For example, I was hired at CTDOT. My primary focus was on procurement, but what I've realized that it's good for me to understand what the different teams they role and how it all ties into the work that I'm doing. So I would definitely say diversify your skills because one of the things I've had in my career experiences where you're just focused on that one thing and then you know some people start to label you as you know Trish, that procurement person. No, there's more to Trish, right? So diversify your skills.
Very good. Other questions? Raise your hand. You have a question? Yes. Very good.
So I have a question as someone who's currently like entry level in the private sector. I guess this directly specifically at Ben, but I know the answer. Is there any difference in the sort of like experiences or the skill sets that you need to like be a leader in the private versus the public sector?
So I would say a leader is a leader. If, you know, not everybody's a leader. At HDR, I believe our CEO is our leader. He was a general in the military. So, you know, don't get stuck that you have to be the absolute expert in your field to become a leader. It's its own skill set. It takes knowledge. It comes with bumps and bruises, and it's something not easily learned. So if you want to strive to be a leader, one, you need to, you know, have that technical background and whatever, be an expert in your field, but then along the way, learn how to lead. Yeah, you're not going to start out knowing it. You're going to, you know, just like everything else, you're going to make mistakes along the way. Learn from those lessons. Learn to value people for people. And I was giving some advice earlier today. When you go to an organization, make sure that they value you as much as you value them. Make sure that they have your best interests at heart. A lot of private industries don't do that. They will see you and go, okay, how are you going to make me more money? and you need to have that confidence in being a leader. Like, this is what I want to do. Someday I want to be fill in the, whatever it is, chief operations officer, chief, innovation officer, CEO. That's where you want to be. Emulate leaders, talk to them, figure it out, make your path. And then when you start into those organizations, let them know, hey, my goal is to someday be here, right? Make it realistic, make it that whole SMART goal, so, the achievable part. Make sure that, hey, my goal in 5 years is to make assistant manager or manager, 1 or 2 steps above where you're at, and then just continue to carry that goal. Take your lessons along the way and really pour into your leadership training. APTA has some great groups, right? Emerging leaders, I would suggest, for the younger students. Transit leadership or APTA leadership for the more seasoned people. But those groups are going to give you that kind of training that you need.
And I'll piggyback off what he said. In my career, I've been labeled. I've been labeled because my background was safety. I've been labeled throughout my transit career as the safety guy. But I was able to diversify when I went on the private sector side to do more things than safety. And it helped me not only change the narrative of what I could do as far as work ethic and the product we put out, but also it helped show my leadership skills. And when I took the position that I am in now, they didn't focus in on my safety side of the house. They focused in on, are you strategic? Are you a visionary? Can you lead this organization? Can you change this community around mass transit? And I've been able to do that. And I've been successful at doing it, thank God. I've been successful at doing that because, number one, you have to change with the wind. And like I said, diversify and keep learning. And I read a book a month. I read a book a month. And a lot of the books I read about leadership. And one book I'll suggest to you all to read is Good to Be Great. That's a great book. I read it every time I start a new position. I read Good to Be Great. Because what can I do to help that organization be better? The book is by Jim Collins. So what can I do to help this organization be great? And that's what I strive to do. So it's okay to diversify your career, work on the private side and the public side, because you're going to get benefits from both, but it's what you get from it. And also, when you interview for jobs, see, people tell you how you're supposed to act and what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to say. But one thing you have to remember too, you're interviewing for a position that you may want. However, you're interviewing them too, because you have to make sure that position is a right fit for you.
The only thing I'll add to that is you're going to have a job and you're going to be expected to perform in that job. And if you perform that job well, then you'll get to keep that job. If you perform that job well and then find the 6 other ways you can help your organization and show your strategic mindset, that's going to make you grow faster. And then lastly, I think the thing that you heard from all leaders is, when you're early in your career, it's about your technical skills and ability to execute. When you're later in your career, it's about your emotional intelligence and ability to understand people. And that's a skill that also has to be cultivated and developed.
Well, thank you very much. We have come to the end of our panel discussion. Reginald, Kim, Ben, and Trish, you have given us a lot to think about. You have given us a lot of good nuggets to take forth. So we thank you. Can we give them a round of applause? I am encouraged here today by the leaders that we have in the transit industry and the impact that they're making and their ability to come back and give back to the industry to help those who are new in their career. One thing that I will say that we heard is to get a mentor, right? That came through with everyone. And I'll even go on to say that I have found that there are three things along those lines that you need: a coach, someone who can coach you through the work that you're doing; that mentor, someone who can encourage you and give you that personal feedback to moving forward; and last but not least, a sponsor. You need a sponsor, someone who's going to bring up your name in a room that you're not in. And so if you don't have those things, get those things. And at minimum, you've heard here today to have a mentor. If you're moving in your career and you want to go to that next level, mentors are important. And for those of us who are seasoned leaders, it is important to be a mentor, right? So not just get one, but also be one where you can. Thank you today for your time. We are very grateful that you spent some of your lunch hour here with us, and we thank you for your knowledge and your expertise. Have a good rest of the actual conference. And then last thing I will say, because Sharice is on my shoulder, because there is something else I need to say. I know it is that there is, where is it? There is a career and connections networking session that starts right now. Make sure that you help. Have a great day.